All right, Chad Hasty Show, News Talk KFYO, joining us right now on the phones here on News Talk 95.1 FM and 790 AM KFYO. It's the Lieutenant Governor of the great state of Texas, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Hey, Chad, I'm great. Good to be with you again.
Glad to have you on the show. Of course, one of the big stories out of the Texas Senate last week was the passage of the Sanctuary Cities bill. Now it goes to the House, which at some point they will take that up. We hope, we anticipate. What is, if you want to comment real quickly on that, but also what will be the next focus for the Texas Senate, in your opinion?
Okay. Well, last week, Chad, we did pass out two bills, Senate Bill 4, which is Sanctuary Cities, and Senate Bill 14, which is our ethics bill. These are both high priorities. There will be several thousand bills that are filed, just so your listeners know, and I hold back the numbers 1 through 30. The budget is number 1, and then I prioritize my other bills in that group. Now, there'll be a lot of bills that have higher numbers than that, because there will be more than 30 priorities for us, but you can understand the relevance of Senate Bill 4 that high up and Senate Bill 14 for ethics reform. So the Sanctuary City bill will put real teeth into enforcing that our local elected officials and our local sheriffs, which are not a problem except in Travis County, by the way, our sheriffs elsewhere all do a fine job and follow federal law, but it will simply say that if you're a police chief or a mayor or a county judge or a sheriff and you're not following federal law, and that means holding criminal aliens until ICE picks them up, then you could face a loss of funding, a civil penalty, or a criminal penalty. Let me tell you why this is important, Chad. I was on Fox this morning, and I gave these stats to put this in perspective, that this is a serious issue. From June 1 of 2011 until the end of last month, so very up-to-date figures over the last 5.5 years, we have booked into our 254 county jails over 212,000 criminal aliens. We've charged them with over 566,000, that's over 500,000, Chad, crimes, including 67,501 assaults, 67,013 drug offenses, 1,143 murders, 6,001 sexual assaults, and thousands of other crimes. Imagine that. Just in Texas, over 500,000 crimes committed by criminal aliens, more than two-thirds of which were here illegally, committing these crimes. So this is a serious issue, Chad, that we must address. And as Republicans in the Senate, we're not going to put up with this nonsense anymore. Now we have a president that will back us up on the federal level.
Right. Ethics, of course, was passed out as well. What can we anticipate coming out of the Senate? I mean, y'all are moving in the Texas Senate. So what can we expect in the next few days and weeks as we move forward?
Yeah, well, we are moving. We did that last session. I believe in getting our work done efficiently, quickly. You don't rush. You make sure you get it right, but you move quickly. And so we are moving quickly to get our legislation over to the House. Last session, we had most of our priorities over by early April. We plan to do the same thing this year. Next up, this Thursday, we're having a hearing in State Affairs on the Convention of States. We will pass that bill out on Thursday or early next week out of the committee, probably on Thursday after the hearing, and then we'll take that bill up on the floor. That would, if 34 other states agree, this is the Mark Levin, I know you carry that show on the station, his book on Article 5 Convention, that would limit the topics but focus on things that I know are important to many listeners, like a balanced budget amendment, a term limit amendment. Now, again, many other states have to agree with us, but we want Texas to be one of the leaders on that effort. So that hearing will be Thursday. We will also be taking up in the next several weeks Senate Bill 3 on school choice, Senate Bill 2 on reducing property taxes, Senate Bill 6 on keeping men out of the ladies' rooms and stopping school districts from enforcing policies where boys and girls would use the same showers in high school, for example, and the same bathrooms in elementary school. We're focusing today, we'll have a hearing on a a press conference on hailstorm reform. We've seen the lawsuits in hail damage go up by about 3,400%. just in the last, since 2012. That's become the new area where trial lawyers sue the insurance companies, and it's getting so bad that many companies are no longer writing the policies at all. You won't be able to get insurance for it, or they are raising the rate so high that people can't afford it. We're also going to be passing legislation on capping our budgets and increasing no more than population and inflation. We will early March bring our bill to the floor and pass it out unanimously. We're going to use state dollars, even in a tight budget. I'm making this a priority. Over $25 million to provide bulletproof vests for every law enforcement officer on patrol. There are over 60,000 in the state of Texas, all levels of law enforcement, so that they have vests that will protect themselves from rifle rounds. So as you can see, we have a very busy agenda.
I want to ask you, we're visiting with Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick here on the Chad Hasty Show. I want to ask you about the school choice bill. I know that's a priority of yours, also the governor's, and a lot of the Republicans out there as well. There was a piece in the Houston Chronicle, I want to say possibly over the weekend, that said the votes aren't there yet. Do you have the same head count? Are the votes there yet in the Senate? Forget about the House for right now, but in the Senate, are the votes there for school choice?
Well, I'm always amused by these articles I read by members of the press who have no idea where the votes are. We do count the votes. We kind of know where we are as we go through the process. However, when they say the votes aren't there yet, that's not unexpected. Members have to take a look at the bill. They have to read the bill. They have to study the bill. We haven't even had a hearing on the bill. So have I counted votes yet for school choice? We'll do that after the hearing. But I will say this, that last session, 2 years ago, we passed out of the Senate the first school choice bill ever with money attached to it to give all parents a chance to send their children to the schools that they think are best for their children. So based on the fact that this bill is different, it's a broader bill, so we will count the votes at the right time, but I believe we'll pass it out of the Senate
real quick
at the right time.
Before I let you go, and I know you're short on time, we're about to have to take the break here in about 2 minutes. Governor Abbott, in his State of the State address, mentioned pre-K funding, and he talked about the House and the Senate versions of the budgets not having enough funding, in his opinion, for his pre-K program. And this is something that he talked about when he was on the show last week here. Where do you come down on the issue of pre-K funding? And do you believe it needs to be funded at the level that the governor wants it funded at?
Well, there's two pools of funding, and I agree with the governor. And we passed the bill out of the Senate last session on high-quality pre-K. I'm not a believer in just dumping money into pre-K if it's not high quality. We don't need to pay for pre-K that they sit, 4- and 5-year-olds in front of a TV set and call that pre-K. We need real high quality, and that's what the governor is focused on, and that's what I'm focused on. We do so. There are two pools of money. One is kind of pre-K across the board, which is funded. One is high-quality pre-K, which is not quite funded at the levels they were last time, but I think we'll address that at the right time. I believe in high-quality pre-K, as does the governor. And the other thing, and this is why we have to have school choice, we have many look, most of our public schools are really good. Many are great, but we have some failures. And there's no purpose of putting money into pre-K for a child then to leave that pre-K and go into a failing elementary school. So it's all connected. We need a high-quality education for the children of Texas, for those who need pre-K early all the way through the 12th grade, and that's what our focus is. So the governor and I are linked up on that. I will tell you, and the governor is aware as well, that our budget this year is we actually have less money to spend this session than we had last session because of the downturn in oil and its impact on our sales tax collection. So we're going to have to tighten everything, to be honest with you. Chad, our budget, and tell me when you hit the hard break, our budget is 90% two items. About 50% of our budget is education, which includes K through 12 and pre-K and higher ed, and then about 40% healthcare, about 90%. And our budget this year, based on what we spent last year, and if you applied growth, because we are a growing state, we're about $6 to $7 billion short than we were last session. So obviously, if 90% of your budget, is two items, education and healthcare, and if if the revenues are short about $6 billion, where you need to keep up, we have to be very, very precise that we spend every dollar of the taxpayers' hard-earned dollars. That's where we get it from our taxpayers, to spend it wisely on all these issues, and that's what we'll do.
Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, as always, appreciate your time. We'll visit with you in the near future.
Hey, always a pleasure, Chad. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. That's Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick here on the Chad Hasty Show.